Then I get a call in 1975 from my brother. My brother had moved to California. He is starting a little movie called Rocky and says, I need a song. Why he called me? Because there was no budget. I remember just sitting there going, take it back, on my guitar, just figuring something out. And eventually I wrote the song. So I tell my group, I said, listen, my brother's doing this movie about boxing. So they said, I don't know if we want to play. We're making $140 that night. That's between 5 people. 5 people at $140 and the manager takes 20%. So take $28 off that. So it's $112 divided by 5. So it was a big night. It was like a bowling alley that had a stage. There's supposed to be hot chicks there. Get a call. It's like, yeah, we can pay you 140. I said, well, we're getting 140. I mean, he goes, no, each. We go, excuse me? That's like a month's wages for us. It was very cool. We all went down together in our van, got a little ripped, and we stood around the trash can singing "Take You Back."
Frank, first of all, really love the documentary,
Oh,
and
thank you.
yeah, it's really wonderful. But just on a layperson's basis, being a producer on this project as well, was that an added bonus because you got to really see the project in a big picture sense? And how important was that to be a producer on this project as
Well,
well?
I was put on as a producer, but I really wasn't involved so much in the making of it. I kind of wanted to let the filmmakers do their thing. What I did do, as I said, listen, here are all the names of everyone I know. I'll call whoever I know. The rest is up to you. Do the interviews. I wasn't involved in the interviews. And also, I said, listen, it's really important for me for you to find the people I started music with from 1965, my band members, because here I am now. That's a 55-year gap. So, but you have to have a beginning to get to where you are. So I wanted to kind of start with that and kind of mix it in with people that knew me when I became famous to the people that knew me when I was a goofy 15-year-old.
The meeting with Valentine was very poignant, and honestly, that dinner you had with them or that meeting you had, that could be an entire different documentary. But
Yeah.
just wondering your thoughts regarding that reunion after all these years, and
Oh,
what did yeah. So
are you talking about now? There was one where the guys came to my house. That was my first band from 65, the American
right,
Tragedy. The Valentine thing, okay, that is, yeah, I was playing a gig at Vibrato, and
yeah,
I hadn't seen my manager in 29 years. We had a falling out. My other manager, Bill, I'd been in contact with. And it was really great, to have my piano player, Peter, there, and Bill and Robin, because we were like, remember, we like kind of lived together in those days in the 70s. The band had like a farmhouse. We lived together with whatever girls are around, whatever. But it was that type of life. So we go way back. I mean, with Robin, I go back to 1968, 68, 67, 68. So we've known each other a long time. We drove out together, from New Jersey to California. So, I mean, I didn't really feel good about that, not having him in my life as a confidant and a buddy. But something went down. How it goes in business. Something went down, and kind of, what hit the fan, and then that was it. But it was really wonderful seeing them. I have certain feelings. Like coming from a broken home and just all screwed up and stuff. Bands to me, when I was in my band, it was like a family. It was like your brothers and sisters. So when it breaks up, you spend all those years together, and then all of a sudden it breaks up, and you're just kind of like flying in the wind, because I had no other future than music. I mean, I wasn't geared for anything else. Other people go, well, I'm going to college, I'm going to be a doctor. I mean, I barely got out of high school, so I mean, I wasn't doing anything. I've been cleaning emu cages in Central Park or something.
one of the things that was great for me is not all the people who are not just the people, the all stars who are talking about either working with you or being your friend or just knowing you,
Yeah.
but just seeing how diverse of an artist you are as a singer songwriter, as a musician, as an actor. How good does it feel for you to know that people will get to see so many sides of your, I guess, artistic journey through this documentary, because you're very diverse as an artist.
Well, that's going to be really quite a bit of fun because, you know, it's like when you ask someone to, hey, listen, we're playing at this club, why don't you come? And then I've heard, oh, well, that's Rocky's brother. I don't know, what's he going to do? You know, and then when they come to the show, we get like 2 standing ovations, and then they come and go, oh, wow, man, I didn't know you did that. I didn't know you wrote that. So that's kind of great for me because now you found a new fan that's discovered you, that came in with a preconceived idea. So this movie should be called Preconceived Frank. I mean, because, you know, it's like everyone has a preconceived idea without taking the time to really know or see what you do. But it's kind of cool. It's like very retrospective. I mean, I feel so blessed and so fortunate at my age and at this point in my career to have a movie done about me that's going to go out to the world. That's really big for me. I mean, you know, I've had so many setbacks and disappointments that, you know, this feels like 1983 again, like when Staying Alive came out, you know, like when all of a sudden, you know, oh, Rocky's brother does good. You know, he writes all these songs.
Frank, I don't know if I can connect the two, but they always call boxing as the sweet science. And
Mm-hmm.
since you know so much about boxing, you've been a boxer.
Mm-hmm.
Did being in that life, did that focus you in all of the other areas? Meaning, did boxing give you a focus regarding your acting and music, or are they just two different paths that
I
you
love
treat?
boxing because I always liked it, but I never had a chance to redo it. When I started doing it, it was weird. It was exhilarating and terrifying at the same time because I lived in a pretty rough neighborhood at that time. So I was like the only white dude in the gym. So I walked in, I go, well, you know, I don't have any problem with anybody, you know. So I just walked in and they were just great. But I did get my ass kicked quite a few times, learning stuff. But the thing is, you'd be humiliated. You go, God, I couldn't get out of the way of any punches. And all the way home, you go, I can't wait till tomorrow. I'm coming back. I'm not going to get with that punch again. There's something about it. There's a discipline about it. There's a camaraderie about it. Like, because boxers are usually really nice guys. Because most of them come from really, you know, like Manny Pacquiao is like the nicest. I mean, he shouldn't even be a fighter. He's like the nicest guy ever. He gives his money away. He's so generous. And he's like one of the great fighters of all time. But if you meet him, he's a very gentle, nice soul. But he came from such a rough, you know, General Santos in the Philippines, such a horrible, tough upbringing. But usually people like that, you tend to think they're greedy and stuff. But he's the total opposite. He's just very kind and nice to everybody. They love him. He's like, he could be king of Philippines.
Right. Just a curious question. I love the big band jazz stuff you
Oh,
do,
yeah.
and wondering if, you know, do you want down the road to make another album, or you're still doing it? And is that one of your many passions as well? Because I was just listening to your rendition of one of my favorite standards, But Beautiful, and you just knocked it out of
Oh, thank
knocked,
you.
yeah, you knocked it out of the park, man. And
Thank
just,
you.
is that a big passion for you, that type of
Oh
music?
yeah. I mean, yeah, because you know, my 3 guys in my life is Sinatra, Elvis, and the Beatles. There you go. I mean, that's what kind of and of course stuff in between, the Everly Brothers, the Who, the Kinks, you know, Nat King Cole. But yeah, I mean, I did, and I was blessed to get Sammy Nestico because he's so brilliant. And you know, in the document, it's his favorite album he's ever done. And remember, he goes back to Count Basie. Sammy's like 96 years old, you know, and he goes back to Count Basie. He goes back to the real big band era. And he was always, and so when we were doing, he goes, do you want, I said, Sammy, you do whatever you want, man. So I got to tell you, so we went up to Canada and did it. We did the album. So I never forget, I wanted to be in the booth and sing while it's going on, like the old days. And I remember when we did, I think it was But Beautiful or something like that. And when all of a sudden I was singing, and all of a sudden those strings came in, I got goosebumps because, you know, you can feel the vibration in the floor. You know, you got full orchestra. And it was like, oh my God. It was like orgasmic. It was like incredible because it's so organic and fantastic. And the funny thing is, you know, guys like nowadays take like 8 days to get a drum sound. We did the album in 2 days. We did the up tempo stuff one day, the ballads second day, mixed it, done.
That's
Yeah.
That is amazing. That
But
is
that's how
amazing.
they did it though in those days. They didn't have like they had no tracks. They would
Yeah.
sit there, rehearse it, and Frank Sinatra go, all right, take it. They take it. Do you like it? Yeah, good. Print it. So I mean, that's basically how it was in those days with those great singers. And I wanted to do that. And yeah, so for a long time, that's all I was doing, kind of the big band stuff. And then I think it was Frankie Avalon, or so he says, "Why come you don't do your own stuff?" I go, "Yeah, how come I don't do my own stuff?" So what I've worked on the last few years is I've incorporated. I got a lot of albums, all the movie stuff I wrote and sang, Staying Alive, all that stuff, and the big band stuff together. And it's really worked out. It's hard to explain. People go, "What do you sound like?" I go, "Why?" I said, you got to have to come see it to feel it. I mean, but no one's doing that. No one's doing quite what I'm doing. I mean, they might dabble in it, but this is hardcore. I mean, I got a great band, 5 horns, really good band. So I've been able, so I have now the best of both worlds because I do love both of the music. I mean, I love on Sirius listening to 1940s or Sinatra. I love that stuff. And then I like listening to the crazy stuff too.
There's a lot of artists who maybe midstream, eventually they'll just look back on their career in a sense of complacency and being happy for what they've done.
Mhm.
But one can tell from this documentary that for you, the path it continues. Your
Yeah.
passion is still as burns bright as it did some 40 years ago.
Yeah,
And
it does.
and wondering what's the secret? How do you get that? And what's the secret to that?
I think, I don't know if there's a secret to it, but the thing was, I started on this journey in the 50s when I was a kid, when I opened my big mouth and sang, when I was a little kid. And I was on this journey my whole life. And I never had in my mind that this was going to be like, oh, well, I'll get married, have kids, and I'll play on the weekends. That was never my thing. My thing was all in or nothing. So that's how I felt. And I felt just because of certain circumstances, I never really got to do what I wanted to do. I never really got to do, the stadium gigs, the rock tours with your private plane, like Richie Sambora did, Bon Jovi, or, Hall & Oates. I never got to do that because I just didn't have the clout, didn't have the team. Even though I had success, I just didn't, the Stallone thing kind of hung over my head. So now I'm at a certain age, I can't do a year straight. But I would love to work all the time. I mean, the greatest thing that ever happened are the Indian casinos. They're fantastic. I play them, and I have played them, and they're fantastic. And there's enough of them in the United States that you could really do your whole year playing Indian casinos. Think about it. I mean, there's Oklahoma, there's tons, there's North Dakota, all over the place. And they're great. And they're really well run. I played Foxwoods, I played Mohegan Sun, I played San Manuel, and they're all really well run and they pay well. And it's not like you're killing yourself. I mean, those tours in the old days were brutal. So, I mean, you were living out the suitcase for like a year. This, if you're playing on a Saturday, you leave Friday, you play Saturday, you come home Sunday, or if you're going to do 2 nights, you leave on Thursday, you get there. I mean, you just walk downstairs, you do your show. And it's great.
Yeah, Frank, my final question to you is one of my podcasts is we do movie recommendations on a weekly basis. And I saw your Instagram feed. Respect to you for recommending a film from Glenn Ford. I love him as an actor as well.
Oh, Glenn Ford's great, man.
He's amazing. But just right off the top of your head for our listeners, can you just recommend a film out of the blue? And what is it about this film that you would love what is it about this film that stands out for you? Yeah.
Okay. Very easy. TyronePower and Herbert Marshall and the original Razor's Edge, because it's very Somerset Maugham. It's very heavy and it's very message oriented. It's very spiritual and it's very beautiful. The message. It's a wonderful movie. I love that. I just really like that movie because I just like the message. It's almost like watching Ronald Colman in Lost Horizon. There's something ethereal about it that, when you look at TyronePower, his thing was not about money. His thing was about a higher being. And when Herbert Marshall turns around and talks to Gene Tierney, he goes, You'll never understand it. You'll never, because, you know, she wanted this and this. And he was like, I mean, TyronePower's like the best looking guy that ever walked on the earth. I mean, he's even better looking than Elvis. But he was so self-effacing. That's what made it great. But I think that is one of, to me, and I don't know if it was a big success, but to me, that's a great, great movie. And there's another one by James Cagney, because I'm a sucker for these like Frank Capra, Preston Sturges type movies. And one called Johnny Came Lately. And it's not a big movie. It's about James Cagney coming into the small town. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. You know, he's a hobo, but what he really is in this town was a famous like reporter. And this kindly old lady who has a newspaper that's been in business since the 1880s, and her husband died. And it's like this little town paper, and all these, you know, now the towns get modernized, and they want to take it over and throw her out. He said, oh yeah. He comes in like James Cagney, and it's so heartwarming because it's such a wonderful thing. Because James Cagney, to me, was a special actor. Even he could play the roughest gangster, but there's always something about him you liked. You know what I mean? I mean, there's always something about that rough character, that there was something inside him that was a good person. And that's, you know, and my brother and I were talking about that. You can't learn that in school. It's an it factor. It's just Clark Gable had it. You know what I mean? Certain people just have that. John Wayne had it. When John Wayne hit the screen, that's what you're looking at, John Wayne. But of course, I love John Wayne. It's one of my, if we're getting to Westerns, you know, Red River.
Yeah,
you know,
love that.
I always like the romantic. I mean, you know, Rocky is a romantic story. I mean, there's boxing, but it's really a romance story, you know? And I always kind of like that in the movie. I mean, I just find, and I don't want to sound like an old fuddy-duddy because I'm not. I just find some of the stuff like in the 80s and 90s was just so gratuitous. I mean, come on. You know, if you look at Place in the Sun with Elizabeth Taylor, Montgomery Clift, there's not one new piece of skin showing. And it's one of the great love stories. Hot, man, who's making out with her in the phone booth. It's great because you don't need to see everything. But now, you know, I think it's pulled back a little bit now. I don't think a lot of the new actresses coming out are into that, which is good. I don't think you need it yourself.
Frank, thank you so much for your time. I really love your documentary. And you know what? Not like you have the time, but you should be a TCM host. I'm telling you, Turner Classic Movies. Come on, man.
You know what? I'd love to do that. That would be fantastic. But Greg, listen, thank you for having me on your show. And maybe we'll come back around after the film comes out and like do a recap and see what's going on.
Definitely.
But you have a great new year, man. Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
You got it.